What is up, action takers? Today, we are joined by John Wensveen. He is the Chief Innovation Officer and Executive Director of the Levan Center of Innovation at NSU here in South Florida. So you might be saying, Mark, what is the Levan Center? What does that even mean? Well, as John is going to explain, the Levan Center is like a theme park for entrepreneurs, and it is super dope. I cannot wait to share all the things that it involves. And I'm going to give you kind of a list here of all the cool things that are happening at the Levan Center. There's a cybersecurity training facility. There's a pitch room, kind of like Shark Tank style, where you can pitch your business. There are robots, robot dogs, big hit, they'll roll over. There are 3D printers, 3D scanners, AR, VR headsets. There's an entire media production center, which is where this episode is recorded on location. And there's a venue for commercial space exploration, some really, really cool things. The Levan Center is, I think, a great example of where public funding and private funding come together to empower entrepreneurs just like you. So I can't wait to get this conversation with John Wensveen. He designed the whole place, basically built it, and I think you're really gonna love the insights as to what this can accomplish for you, what this might accomplish in your own communities. Super, super cool. If you're new here, by the way, my name is Mark. I run Mark Savant Media. We are a podcast production agency. If you've ever wondered how podcasting can grow your business or get you the best type of leads for your business, we need to hop on a call. Totally free, no obligation to you. Take 20 minutes. I'll listen to what you're looking to do and answer your questions so that you can build a podcast that works for you. That's what we do here. All right. I can't wait to share this. I can't wait to listen back to it again. So listen, without further ado, DJ, roll the tape. Let's get into this episode. John, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I've been listening, watching from afar, and I got to say, the first second that I stepped into the Levan Center, I was blown away. I got greeted by a little robot. There's other robot dogs over here. There's all these people. Super cool, super exciting center that you built here, brother.
Yeah, the future is now. That's what we keep saying, everybody, and the signage says it. In fact, we got it right in front of us on this monitor here. Welcome to the future. But it's a wow experience, and every single person that comes through here has a very similar reaction to you. It's, oh my gosh, wow. And then when they leave, it's, how the heck can I be involved with this? I didn't know that such a cool thing existed.
Yeah, well, it's right here at the NSU campus here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, South Florida. And I got to say, the second thought when I walked in was, maybe I need to re-enroll in college. Maybe I need to go back to the university, because it's just such a cool place.
And that's one thing I never want to do, is relive my undergraduate and graduate years. I like where I am in my life, but yes, it is a pretty cool space. And NSU, most people aren't even aware, it's the largest private university in the state of Florida, and it's pretty remarkable. And we have a reverse model here where we're primarily focused on graduates. So we're 70% graduate school and 30% undergrad, versus other universities that the other way around, highly focused on specialized programs like medical and legal. And this whole Levan Center that you're in right now was really created as the new Switzerland of the university, to break down all of the silos that exist typically in an academic environment. And this becomes the new gateway of opportunity, and not just internally within the university, but externally with the world at large. And we're that bridge that identifies what's happening inside, what's happening outside, and then how do we bring that innovative entrepreneurial mindset into this setting.
So I think that's a really important point, John, because in my experience, university taught me how to be a great employee. It didn't teach me how to actually get in there, get my hands dirty, and create an actual business. And so I really like this merging of both the public space and the private space, Nova combining together with Broward County to make this place happen. What was the biggest challenge in bringing the public and private sector together to get this experience launched?
So it's interesting, because it's a relatively new model, and really the future of success globally are public-private partnerships, where you're co-investing into one another. And typically an academic institution, if it's here in the US or outside of the US, is often very disconnected from what's happening in industry, as an example. And that disconnect just gets widened all of the time, where industry and academia don't really come together and strategically co-invest with each other. And higher education has typically dictated to industry what your needs are, rather than listening to your needs. And then industry has not really listened to higher ed to say, here's what you got going on and here's what we need to do, and let us invest into your infrastructure and resources. So the advantage to something like this is that you've got two different parties that have come together that are in alignment with one another, that really know what economic development is about at the end of the day, because that's truly what this is. This is an economic development engine, but it's also an education development engine that's working on a talent skills pipeline that's supporting skill talent. And in South Florida, there's an abundance of talent, but there is not an abundance of qualified skill talent to support these emerging tech sectors. And innovation centers like the Levan Center come in to create those accelerated entries into the workforce, or for new skilling and upskilling and reskilling within the existing workforce. And I think the greatest challenge is convincing two different parties that come from two different worlds that the future is going to be defined as X, Y, and Z, and it takes a resource like this to be able to make that happen. And once that belief is understood, there really haven't been any hurdles at all. In fact, it's been a perfectly aligned relationship where the public-private partnership is probably the best I've ever seen, where you've got the public partner that financially invested but isn't dictating to you the strategic outcomes of what you're doing. We'll financially support it. You go make great things happen for the betterment of not just the county, but South Florida as a region. And let's take it to a higher level and also talk about regional, national, and international impact at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. So a few things. A, I am shocked that there weren't great challenges, because as an entrepreneur, we also understand that you end the day with one problem and you start the day with three new problems. It's just kind of the way that things roll. So here's another interesting thing, because again, I've been really blown away with the entire innovation center itself. Okay. And then when I started thinking and started looking at the numbers, the millions of dollars that have gone into the actual construction of this place, I started to think to myself, like, as a business mind, what's the ROI? How did, as a public office, government, or even a private investor, why would I want to design or build something like the Levan Center in my hometown? What's the ROI opportunity?
So it's interesting. There's the cash part of it, but then there's the non-cash part of the ROI. So the beauty about this public-private partnership at the end of the day is that everybody understands it's about economic development. So what does that mean? So we have three very specific themes that we're focused on at the Levan Center. It's innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship, because it's innovation that leads to the creation of new technologies, that leads to these new entrepreneurial journeys, or what we call the founder's journey. And then we established 4 pillars that are truly representative of that founder's journey, called ideate, incubate, accelerate, and post-accelerate. And it covers everything from birth of an idea right through successful exit of a company or global expansion. And those programs are being developed and implemented as we speak. And there are 6 very specific outcomes that we're measuring our own success on, which is really going to answer your question about ROI. And the goal is that Broward County uses this as a measurement tool. South Florida as a region uses this as a measurement tool. And I think it's important to note that South Florida as a region, even though we always look at it as individual counties, the objective is to become a designated technology hub, a nationally ranked tech hub. And sometimes people believe you can just rebrand it and your sunshine cruises and beaches one day and the next day you're a tech hub. And the answer to that is, well, that's not really accurate. You actually have to have infrastructure. You have to have success. So the 6 key outcomes for us in terms of ROI are breakthrough ideation, the creation of new technologies, a brand new talent skills pipeline to support these emerging tech sectors. It's company formation, job creation, and then the scaling of early stage and young startup companies. And all of that also helps attract new industry into our community at the same time. So if we measure those 6 outcomes, you'll see the cash component, and then you'll see the non-cash component. But there are 6 things that all intersect with one another, and each one of those pillars brings its own form of ROI.
Very cool. Very interesting. And I agree. Sometimes it's the non-quantitative, these qualitative types of values of being able to say, hey, the next Mark Cuban, Elon Musk went through our center and developed these new technologies. I got to be honest, John, I have so many questions, but I think that segues me into something that I found interesting. One of the facilities that are front and center, top center here at the Levan Center is the cybersecurity training facility. Why is that such a focus of the Levan Center here?
So originally, the idea that I had, and I had built a cyber range in a prior life, but it was for a completely different audience, and that model would not have been successful here. And I always said that if I could do it again, this is what we would do, and have the fortunate opportunity to be able to do so. So initially, the cyber range was a smaller concept that was really meant to be a revenue generator that would help support our overhead here on an annual basis.
Okay.
And then after taking a much deeper dive into cybersecurity, recognizing that there is a desperate need by academia, industry, government, and even the entrepreneurial community, there needed to be a resource that helped not just with training, but also with intelligence types applications, research and development opportunities. So when we built the space that we're in, which incidentally is 54,000 square feet, and when I came here, it was just a blank cement box. So I had the opportunity to design the world's first theme park for entrepreneurs by creating all the rides that would be a great experience. And one of them was the cyber ride, if you will. So we took about 1,500 square feet of space and we created a black box, meaning that it's operating on its own independent network. It's not connected to the Levan Center. It's not connected to the university. It's literally its own independent world, so that in the event that something were to go wrong from a cyber perspective, it would be self-contained. And then what we did with the cyber range is we built 12 training stations that can accommodate up to 24 participants at a time, plus 10 observers, and then your instructor or instructors. And then we outfitted it with amazing technology and made a pretty significant investment. And it's a cloud-based application, but also we have a server room and we have hardware that we can bring into the cyber range. And the whole purpose here was to identify the gaps that exist here in South Florida, knowing that we could also be a potential international gateway to other regions of the world, like Latin America, Caribbean is an example, that don't have these types of resources. And the idea is that we could support training programs at the very beginner stage of cybersecurity, that mid-stage cyber person, or that advanced professional person. And we can bring those teams into this facility and we can put them through certification programs. We can put them through scenario-based applications. We can even mock test the infrastructure of their own organizations to see, that's called pen testing, and to see how tough they really are. And there isn't a single organization that's 100% solid. So where are those gaps and how do you train your people and get them up to speed so that they're not just reactive, but they're proactive at the same time. And we've also constructed the facility as a military-grade environment, meaning that it could be certified by different three-letter government agencies. And we've actually done some collaborative work with government at the state and federal levels and soon at the local levels, and recently held an FBI symposium here just as an example. So it's gaining a lot of attraction. But the whole purpose of it is it's more than training. It's also that scenario-based intelligence application. And one of the things that's going to set us apart from anything that exists in the Southeast region of the country is that we're going to be building programs around the federal government definition of critical infrastructure, and there are 16 different verticals. Examples might be electric grids, water grids, shipping ports, nuclear power plants. And imagine yourself going into an environment where you could replicate that work environment that you're in every day, but in this safe facility where you can test and go through simulation exercises, and then you take that knowledge back into your real world environment, and it's a pretty seamless transition rather than generic-based training, where you then have to apply it in a different way. So we're just opened and we'll be in full-scale operation this summer and then into the fall as we build it up. But it's truly a community resource for the whole South Florida region.
I mean, so there's some really big picture type of projects happening here, John, which I think is really exciting. And so again, I want to stay on the topic of cash and money.
Right.
Did I hear you mention that you actually offer services here too, or did I misunderstand that as far as the cybersecurity part goes?
We do. So the whole Levan Center as an innovation center model has a wraparound service component that really supports the collision station concept that we've created here. So imagine this theme park where entrepreneurs are forced to collide with academia, industry, government, funders, professional networks, the wraparound service providers as an example. And with the cyber range very specifically, it's not just training, but it provides different types of services that we can customize according to the customer's needs. So every customer has similar needs, but every customer has their own unique needs, and we're able to adapt to that depending on what it is that they require.
Super practical. And again, because I'm just trying to wrap my head around, the monetization, because as an investor who's thinking about investing in something like this, that's the first thing that we would think about. I want to talk about I just want to kind of list off some of the cool things that exist here in the Levan Center. And then I want to ask you which one was your biggest surprise as far as production goes. So let me just list off a couple here. So we've got the cybersecurity training facility. You have the pitch room with 18 state-of-the-art digital screens. There are robots. Yes, you heard that. There are robots. There's lots of robots, actually. 3D printers, 3D scanners, AR, VR headsets. There's the media projection production center that we're in right now. And then you also have a venue for collaboration for commercial space exploration. Tell me, which is the most exciting or under-expected performer?
So they're all super exciting, and they all bring their own unique, wow factor to what we're doing. But there's something on your list that you're probably not aware of yet, and that's the one that's going to be the wow of what we're building here. So just down the hallway from us, we reserved a room and stopped the construction and build out on it. And we're going to be building something called a volumetric capture studio. Most people aren't aware of what that is, but to put it in plain terms, it's Star Trek beam me up technology. So the best way to describe what that is, imagine walking into a room and the entire room is renovated as a black box. So everything is black, the ceilings, the floors, the walls, and then a 360-degree green screen wraps the room. And there are 66 cameras that will be installed with these digital sensors, as well as the cameras, so we can pick up our physical movement as well as our audio, and then we can overlay sound effects over top of that. In relevant terms, so that most people understand that today, people may see a person in a jumpsuit with sensors, and maybe it's a golfer swinging the club, and we're looking at the data analytics or the loft of the ball as it's been hit through the air. And then we take that information and we use the data, or we can create some kind of an animated product based on that. Well, that technology is going out the window, and we're using something called spatial computing, and that's one of the flags that we're going to be putting here in the Levan Center. And spatial computing is the next evolution of augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality. So when you walk into this futuristic black box and you have these 66 cameras surrounding you, there's no need for the jumpsuit and the sensors anymore. The walls become that jumpsuit. And then what happens is we record everything that we see and what we hear, and then we can digitally print everything that we recorded on the other side as a digital hologram. And it's a hologram beyond the knowledge of a hologram today. And then we can take you, the hologram, and then superimpose you into any kind of environment that you could ever dream of. So you're interested in podcasts, and maybe you have a fascination with the light that's looking at you right now. I can put you inside that light. You can walk through that light. You can touch it. You can feel it. You can smell it. Maybe you're the cardiologist that wants to be in the middle of the heart, and you want to feel it, see it, touch it, smell it. We can make that happen. It just takes time and money, but that's the ability that we'll have here. And we start to build it up this summer, and it'll open up this fall. And we're working with Microsoft and Unity as our partners on this. And this is going to be the only publicly accessible volumetric capture studio in the southeast region of the country. There's maybe about 6 nationally, maybe about 20 worldwide, and most of them exist with defense agencies or your Disneys and Universals of the world, where they have their own application for what they do there.
Wow. So the idea of me being a surgeon inside my patient's heart as I'm operating, but how does that work, right? I'm in a blank space. How do I get transported? Maybe because it's so new and revolutionary, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around how that works.
Sure. So a lot of people talk about the metaverse, but nobody really knows what the metaverse is. It's not defined. This is one of the definitions of the metaverse. So it has multiple applications. It's your future boardroom. It's your future wedding. It's your future Broadway play. It's your future surgical unit. It's your future military training environment. So let's just use the military as an example. Let's just say I'm in hostile territory. I'm on the battlefield, and I've got my weapons and my pack on, and I'm going through the desert, and there's some kind of enemy that pops out from behind a rock, and now I am in that environment. So I'm actually creating a virtual simulation stage production, but it's truly smell-o-vision. It's coming. And I can actually even replicate physical feelings. So for example, somebody were to draw a weapon on me and shoot, and I want to know what the sensation of a bullet is hitting my vest. I can make that happen in that kind of environment. But it's basically a simulator, and it's sort of like a flight simulator that we know today, but taken to a whole new level where it's as realistic as possible. And then my belief is this technology will evolve over time so that it becomes more than a simulated environment. It actually becomes a live operating environment. So you talk about remote surgery as an example. It's very possible that I am a cardiologist in this simulated environment, but I'm actually performing live surgery remotely in a different country by utilizing the tools that may be AR, VR type tools, but maybe there's a robot on the other side of the world that's actually doing the actual procedure based on my movements. It's
just such a crazy time to be alive right now. There's the ability to do that is it's so fascinating. I want to talk a little bit about some of the practical aspects, right? Like, how does this impact me? I'm not going to be doing this remote holographic type of surgery, that sort of thing. I run a podcast agency, right? And I know my friend Jason Hill just recently went through your program with his Owl app. But I'm just kind of curious, like, for the practical entrepreneur trying to build a business, trying to knock heads with the people that are actually going to turn the knob, what are the practical applications? Like, I walk into Levan Center, how can it help me?
So let's go back to that idea of creating the world's first theme park for entrepreneurs, and imagine a giant collision station that takes the entire world of an entrepreneur that they're exposed to and reverse engineers that founder's journey. So the best way to explain it is that an entrepreneur is very much focused, if you're looking at a baseball diamond analogy, they're at home plate trying to figure out how to get to first base, especially if they're early stage. And success is getting to first base. Well, that's great, because then you got to get to second, then you get to third, and then ultimately cross home. We look at it a little bit differently. We have truly figured out the secret sauce as to how we reverse engineer your success. So let's stand at home plate and let's define your success right there at home plate now, before you've done anything. And instead of focusing on how we get to first, we're going to focus on how we get you to third base, then second, and then first. And we literally reverse engineer all the steps that you take, and you can't progress unless you've checked the box of each step that you've taken. So if you think about what an entrepreneur needs at any level of their maturity, they need access to networks, professional networks, social networks. They need access to certain types of tools like business planning, marketing, branding, strategy, legal, finance, accounting, technology, self-care management options, which we never think about the disconnect between the brain and the body. And what we do is we bring all of that world into this 54,000 square foot facility, and then we also connect it virtually to the world so that your network is now truly the entire world. So you, as a podcaster, you're an entrepreneur, and you're building a business, just to use your own self as an example. You walk into the Levan Center, and beyond the wow, now what you've done is you've been exposed to a team here that can help assess where you are in terms of your own growth as an entrepreneur, as an individual or as a company. You may be ideate stage, you may be a small business owner, you may be something well more established, ready for that merger, acquisition, IPO, global expansion opportunity. We have the infrastructure to figure out what pathway you should be on, and then we connect you to it, and then we bring those resources to you. And the best part is that you as an entrepreneur probably don't even know what you need. So we'll figure that out for you. Or maybe you do know what you need, but you don't know how to get it. And I got lots of examples of where that's happening right now with our existing entrepreneurs that we have in this facility. And we put you on a pathway, and we create that plan from the end to the start, and then we walk you through it. So now you've got access to potential customers, potential funders that normally you wouldn't be exposed to. And you mentioned Mark Cuban earlier on. Well, a representative of Mark Cuban companies walks through this facility very regularly and looks up what's going on. And I like that opportunity. I like that entrepreneur. And you don't know what kind of things would happen, but you would never have been exposed to that network as an example. And we have a company here right now that for 7 or 8 months really struggled until they got here because they didn't know what pathway they were going on. And as a result of being here, they got a better business plan, they got strategy, they landed their first customer, which is now beyond one customer. They landed some investment, which is now going to become larger investment. They're in the media almost every single day. And the exposure is overwhelming for that entrepreneur to the point that, oh my gosh, success is now right in front of my face. What's the next level? And we helped you through that too.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And even before this episode, John, we were talking about how South Florida is becoming this, like, the new tech hub, right? You know, California, Silicon Valley, you know, maybe falling out of favor a little bit. I don't know. And it seems like there's a lot of states, like Austin, Tampa, there's a lot of areas they're trying to jockey for that next status symbol. We are the tech hub of the United States or even the world. Why is South Florida going to be the new tech hub in the next 5 years?
So it's interesting. The hottest region in the entire nation in terms of the number of startups and activity-wise is South Florida as a region. You'll often hear it's Miami, but the true definition of Miami, the government definition at the federal level, it's Greater Miami is representative of the Tri-County area. So that's why we hear about Miami a lot, but it's truly South Florida. So there are more startups happening in South Florida than any other region in the country. And for the very first time in a number of years, those companies are now beginning to scale. Traditionally, we fell at number 38 out of 40 nationally. So we would start companies, but we wouldn't grow. We always were 20 employees or less, or we didn't have the ability to sustain ourselves, and we simply died. So now what's happening, and you talk about the exodus from California, I don't want to say that we're the Silicon Valley of the East, and we're never going to be Silicon Valley. And when people say this is the new Silicon Valley, it really ruffles my feathers a little bit, because it's its own unique beast, and we're our own unique beast at the same time. So the reason that you have this flood coming in is, like, if you put a map on a wall, everything just seems to flow into Florida right now, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And the population is moving in this direction. So pre-COVID, there was about 1,000 people a day moving into the state of Florida, most of them coming to South Florida. Good for economy, not so great for things like congestion, cost of living, et cetera. And now we're 1,300 to 1,500 people a day during this whole COVID situation. And people have realized that there's actually the Wild West here in Florida. There's the ability to start a business and be successful. There's the opportunity to relocate your business and be successful. There's more money than there's ever been. So all of the wealth that you've seen over the years traditionally was earned somewhere else and not invested into our communities. And now there's more wealth that's accumulated here in South Florida, and it is being reinvested into our communities. So the access to the angel investment networks, the venture capital, even the institutional financing for the more mature companies, it's here. And there's more money than there are opportunities. And people are realizing that if I go to South Florida right now, I have market, I have gateway to international operations, I have access to money if I have the right idea. And there's a simple formula. If I have the right idea, the right people, and the right money, I can be wildly successful. And South Florida is truly promoting itself in a new way. I don't think we're doing a great job to say, hey, world, we're open for business, and here's all the things that we've got. But it's happening very quickly, and it won't be very long before there is a resource guide, if you will, that will say, here's your go-to map to success in South Florida. And incidentally, it's actually the Levan Center that's creating that.
I love it. And I love being, I love being a part of it. You know, the cost of living is becoming a major challenge in South Florida. And so my wife and I and family were kind of talking about, is there anywhere else that we'd want to go? I'm like, man, South Florida is where it's happening. Everyone is coming here. It's so cool. And, you know, speaking of which, I want to ask you an underrated, overrated question, John, because I've become very fascinated with NFTs and the smart contract technology. What do you think about NFTs? Overrated or underrated?
I'm in the middle of the road with this. I think that too many people think they know exactly what it is and where it's going. And the reality is, I don't think that we've figured out the recipe quite yet. I deal with companies on a daily basis that talk about NFTs, cryptocurrencies, blockchain type technologies. And there's a lot of buzzwords out there, but I don't think we've found ourselves quite yet. So underrated or overrated, I'm going to say we're a little overrated at the current time, but things are going to catch up.
Okay. I can dig it. Well, and I definitely think that there's a little bit of a reckoning happening in the crypto and NFT space right now. Is, you know, we go through this financial economic time here in June of 2022. Everyone's like, maybe I'm going to get off of this picture of a white horse or something like that. Maybe I'll just go buy an index fund or something along those lines.
Well, you know, it's funny. I'm working with a company right now outside of the state of Florida, but will be in Florida at some point in time, and it's in the aviation business where I traditionally came from, airlines. And one of the things that they're doing is they're creating a new passenger loyalty program that's focused on cryptocurrency. So instead of air miles, your reward is cryptocurrency, and then you'll be able to use that to buy your next ticket or work with different concessionaires at the different airports within the network. And it's changing. Things are happening, and we're in a very interesting time, but we're still in the pioneering stages of it all. There's so much more to do. I look at one of our local cruise lines here, Celebrity. That's the first cruise line at sea to sell artwork using NFTs, and people are buying into it, and quite exciting. So things are changing, and it's going to take a little while, but technology changes faster than the human. So I want to make sure that we're aligned at the same acceleration pace.
Yeah, well, and that's actually a good segue into a question I had, John. You know, as technology accelerates rapidly, we have things like Zoom meetings, you know, work from home, don't go into the office. It's really changed the way that we operate as humans. And humans, I feel like we need other humans around us. I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing about us as people. But, you know, you just mentioned briefly that self-care is a real focus of the Levan Center. And I think that as entrepreneurs, that gets overlooked often. You know, rise and grind, up late, up early, right? But sleep, exercise, these often get overlooked. You know, how are you implementing self-care into the way the Levan Center operates and brings up the next breed of entrepreneur?
So we live in a new era. It's an age of acceleration, an age of disruption. That's never going to change. It's going to take on different types of life cycles. And I am the worst practitioner of what I'm preaching. And I think that's pretty typical of a lot of entrepreneurs. But when we designed this whole facility, we realized that entrepreneurs, they work 24/7. They don't know how to disconnect. They make social sacrifices with their life. And their network is usually another entrepreneur or entrepreneurs. So when we built this space, we were very conscious about what kind of infrastructure we should build. And some of it's here and there's more to come. But we have physical activities that get you away from your desk and your chair, if you will, whether it's a pool table, whether it's foosball, whether it's playing shuffleboard. We've got go-karts that you can ride around here in the facility.
Really?
And then we've got programs and seminars that we're putting on, including bringing in the innovation psychologist that can also teach you how to disconnect and make sure that there's an equal balance between what you do. So wraparound service providers, that's a component to it where you bring in the innovation psychologists and other types of individual that know how to show you how to disconnect. And really quickly, what's interesting is I do a lot of social media postings, and one I put on LinkedIn fairly recently was the very first personal post that I've ever done in my entire life on LinkedIn. And it was me out camping in the torrential rain, and it was like an audition for the Weather Channel. And it was a spin-off of a one I had done a little bit prior that was somehow connected to camping and the importance of disconnecting. And I got over 30,000 impressions on that, which was about 3 times more than I would get in anything else that I put out there. And people responded and people forwarded that self-care management piece. And I realized that people are very interested in it. And a lot of people are interested, but they don't know how to live it and make it happen, which is an extreme challenge. So how do we help overcome that for you?
I mean, I love that. You had me at go-karts too. That is super cool. And I, you know, this is funny. I run a podcast agency. I launch shows for clients, and a lot of clients get stuck on what's the perfect name for my podcast. I suffered this too. It took me months to come up with a name after I was entrepreneur, right? Mm-hmm. You find the perfect name, someone else has had, the little rigmarole. Sure. And I find that when you get out of your headspace, when you get out of that, I'm sitting in my lab in front of my dark, dank computer, just when you get out of that and you get outside, that's when the aha moments come.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just think it's a really, really smart thing to do, I think.
It's funny, I haven't taken a real vacation in 3 years. And my wife and I said, that's it, we're disconnecting. The big challenge was getting this up and running, and now we have the ability to be able to go and do it. So we're going out to the national parks in Nevada and Utah here in We're RVers and we have our own, but it's too far to go. So we've rented another one while we're out there. And we've made sure there are no cell phones available where we're going. We're completely disconnected. We're off the grid. And the whole point is to be able to get out into the wilderness, if you will, and to think about yourself. But that's also how I come up with new ideas. And I don't have any distractions. And every time I come back after being disconnected, there's something bigger and better that we have the ability to do, because you can really put a lot of thought into it.
Right. And it's always amazing to me when I hear stories of entrepreneurs leaving, their business for a few months or whatever, coming back, and it's like, it runs even better now because I have the team members in place. I have the chess pieces where they need to go. I would be remiss, John, if I didn't ask you about your LinkedIn comment for just a moment. Because you mentioned that you don't post a lot on LinkedIn. What role do you think, or you don't post a lot?
Personal stuff.
Personal stuff.
Yes.
Do you think, how important do you think that adding that personal aspect into the social media part, how important do you think that is? Is that something you're going to be leaning into more?
Absolutely. I realize that people want to know more about who you are as an individual. And I've really thought more in terms of my own self-reflection that me as an individual, I'm a brand. You're a brand. So what is my personal brand? And people are interested in what that is and how you message that, and people relate to it. And it shows that you're down to earth and you relate to everybody else, and it's not always business, business, business. So I think there's a way to create an interesting balance between your personal and your professional, and I'm certainly going to test that out a little bit and see how that works moving forward.
I think it makes a lot of sense, right? And I've kind of changed my stance on social media quite a bit over time, but I think that if you let your profile do the selling for you, and then you just post things that, like you said, build your personal brand. Someone says, oh, I like RVs, I like to camp, let me check out John's LinkedIn profile. And they're like, oh, John is an innovator, he's one of the creators of the Levan Center over there. Maybe I want to get on the horn with him, right? People connect based on the way we make each other feel.
Absolutely. And it's funny, just to stay on the camping thing for a moment in LinkedIn, I guess it was 4 or 5 months ago, I was driving down the road heading to the west side of the state in our car with our RV pulling behind, and it's a rather unique setup. And every once in a while, you see pictures, people taking their cameras, their phones, going down the highway, taking pictures of it. And when I posted that one about the camping experience, somebody saw that on LinkedIn and said, I saw that setup on the highway 2 months ago. I took a picture of it, and he posted the picture of us driving down the highway, and we connected. And that's how small the world is. And now he's one of my biggest followers on LinkedIn, and he's continuously posting messages and forwarding and sharing different things. But you never know.
That's so cool. That's so, it's stuff you, like you said, you don't know, right? But I used to think that I want to be all business all the time. You know, Shay Rowbottom actually had a post about this. It was a video about her saying, like, this is the LinkedIn police, and she was getting on to people for sharing Facebook stuff that belongs on Facebook, on LinkedIn. But I feel like there's no escaping the merge of personal and professional life right now. You see it all across social media.
You do, and it's interesting. I mean, I have my Facebook account, and that is my personal. I don't do anything business related on that, and it's my immediate family, my immediate friends, and people want every day, like, I want to be a part of it, and I don't allow anybody to. LinkedIn is my professional, but I do have that little personal thing starting to happen. But it's interesting watching LinkedIn. I've been with LinkedIn since the beginning of time. Literally, even the first year of operation, I had an account. But I've noticed a huge transition where it's gone from business networking, very professional, to more of that Facebook, to more of that Twitter, to more of that Instagram. And there's a personal side to it. But there's another component to it that didn't exist a few years ago. And even through the whole COVID situation, I noticed that the whole setup of LinkedIn in terms of who people are trying to network now is changed quite a bit. Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, the lockdowns has completely changed the entire environment for communication, for good and for bad. But regardless, it has happened. So the best place to find John and the center here, anywhere on social media, SFL Innovation. SFL Innovation on LinkedIn. And that's South Florida, SFL, South Florida. So we purposely put that out there. But yes, SFL Innovation. Yeah, as a fellow South Floridian, I kind of like, I know that, but I know not everyone out there is from South Florida. That's okay. No one's perfect. That's okay. That's okay. You can come. You can join us. Everyone's perfect. They're just unique in their own different way. I like that. I like that. And frankly, leaning into that uniqueness, to me, that's what makes for a great entrepreneur. You know, and I just want to do a quick sidebar here because I do have some rapid fire questions for you, John. But quick sidebar, I want to hear your reaction to this. I was talking to a young woman the other day, and she said she wanted to start a podcast, but she hadn't yet. And I said, why? Why not? She said, well, I was in this clubhouse room, I was in this audio room, and I was talking to some people, and they told me that my voice was too screechy and that I shouldn't start a podcast until I had gone through vocal coaching classes. And so and by the way, they offered the vocal coaching classes, surprise, surprise. And that once I went through the vocal coaching classes, then I should start my podcast, right? What would you say to someone who says that? I can't start until X. Well, I hope Clubhouse didn't ruin her, and I participate in Clubhouse. I'm not the biggest fan of it. There's pros and cons to it, but I would think I would have to disagree. You want to start a podcast? It's not like you're turning on a microphone and speaking right away. There's a whole lot of planning that goes into it, and this piece of it, in some ways, is the easy piece, but it's the pre-stuff, the post stuff that you got to do. But why don't you create your plan of what your podcast is going to be? Start scripting it out, creating the strategies. The voice, listen, there's technology. You can adjust it and play with different things if it's really that bad. But I would say don't let anybody tell you can't do it. Just go and do it. And maybe that's a unique thing that sells you. You may be different than everybody else. Right. It's actually something I look at when I look at Hollywood actors. Not every Hollywood actor is like a Ken doll or Barbie doll. There's a lot of very unique faces. I don't know. I just think leaning into what makes you unique and what makes you special. I had to do that quick aside when you said everyone's perfect. You're just your own unique self. I really like that. Well, let me quick story, side little story. I was told I should never go into radio, and guess what? I went into radio, and I had my own radio show, and in 1997, I won the Best Male Presenter in the United Kingdom by the BBC Radio 1 Awards. What? Yeah. I had a face not for TV, but better for radio, but I was told I didn't have the voice to go into radio, and I proved them wrong. Props to you, John. No, so I got to ask, the people that doubted you, that told you not to do it, all of us entrepreneurs, we deal with that. Mm-hmm. We all deal with it, right? Why don't you go get a real job type of stuff. How did you internalize that? Did you internalize that and just say, this is the fuel for the fire, or I'm going to show them? How did you internalize those
those naysayers?
Definitely fuel for the fire. So I grew up in an environment where my parents were very supportive, but very strict. You must do this. You must be a teacher. You must work 9 to 5. You must have your summers off. And I was like, no way. That's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a pilot, and I'm going to start my own airline. And long story short, I was the co-founder of an airline, and it went public out of London, and we did very well with it. And the reason that I did so well with some of my own entrepreneurial journeys is when the world says, no, you can't do it, my job is to go and prove the world wrong. Yeah. And if there's a wall, we're going to figure out how to blow through it or go over it or around it or under it. And that's what keeps me motivated today. Even with this whole Levan Center initiative, there were a lot of naysayers that said, you can't do this, you can't build it. And guess what? We did it on time, on budget, and we created something that's truly unique to the world. And when I say this is the world's first theme park for entrepreneurs, it's never been attempted, because nobody had the guts to do it, and we're doing it. So don't tell me no, because I'm going to prove you wrong.
No, I love that mentality. I love that mentality because it's 100% any entrepreneur has to deal with that. And it's how do you deal with the doubters? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about, I love the haters. I love you haters out there. Thank you. I love you. I love you.
They motivate us. We need them.
They do. They absolutely do. Yeah. All right, cool. So links below. You definitely want to check out John Wensveen all over social, specifically on LinkedIn. Great place. And then SFL Innovation as well. Again, links below. Make it simple. But John, we got to get into the rapid fire section. Are you ready? You buckled up?
I'm ready. I'm buckled up.
All right. Buckled up. What is the scariest thing you've seen while scuba diving?
Oh, so incidentally, it wasn't an animal or a fish. It was actually a human being that was freaking out being underwater. And I've never seen somebody so terrified in my entire life to the point that they were vomiting underwater. And that's a very dangerous situation if you don't know how to get out of it, especially for an inexperienced diver. So fortunately, I was there. I have my own regulator, and you could teach somebody underwater how to be ill underwater. Yeah. But under normal circumstances, if they're by themselves, they probably wouldn't have made it. And that was probably the scariest thing I've ever seen underwater, is somebody that didn't know if they're going to live or die.
Yeah, terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying. They can pull you under, too, if you get too close to them. Take your mask and start doing this. That, I wasn't expecting you to go there, but that is a... Yeah, as a fellow diver, that is a terrifying thing. Who's your favorite entrepreneur on Shark Tank?
Ooh, so I'm going to have to say Kevin O'Leary, and the only reason being because he's the only one I've actually met in person. And the person you see on TV is not the person in real life. He's actually a very nice person, and he's heavily involved here in South Florida, and I like him. He's an interesting character. He's very, very smart.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. What is the scariest movie you've ever seen?
The scariest movie I've ever seen? Oh my gosh, I remember this very vividly. I was really young. Children of the Corn.
Oh gosh. I remember that one, yes.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite.
No, that is a creepy freaking movie. That's a good one. Not a common answer. I like that one. That's a good one. Overrated, underrated, watermelon.
Overrated, not a fan.
No.
No.
Oh man, I could eat watermelon for days. Did you ever have an interesting alligator experience?
Actually, yes, I have. Multiple alligator experiences. So living in South Florida, there's always an opportunity to have an alligator in your life somewhere. But I've been an avid water skier my entire life, pretty competitive at it. And one of the scarier experiences, I'll never forget it, was on the Tomoka River up near Daytona Beach. And skiing at sunset, and that's when the alligator eyes start to be visible. And I remember sitting behind the boat, and I was just getting myself comfortable, and all the people in the boat are having a freak out, no idea what's going on. And I look behind me, and there are the eyes and the snot of the gator within 2 feet of me. And I'm like, hit it, get me out of here. And we were out of there. But that was kind of freaky.
Yeah, you'll be barefooting pretty quick.
That's right.
It's funny, I didn't expect this to be on the top 10 scariest moments of John's life, but here we are. I love that. I have some scary gator stories too, but I won't share them.
Okay, well, we can do that after hours.
Yeah. Most of the time, gators are pretty chill, though. Most of the time, gators don't mess with you. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live?
That's a big question. I've asked myself that multiple times. One of the most fascinating places that I've ever been in terms of getting off the grid, it was Fakarava. It's an island in French Polynesia. There's nothing there but tiki huts and bicycles, and it's not too far from Bora Bora. It's one of the most scenic places I've ever seen, but if I just want to get away from the world, I always said, I'm going to Fakarava, and that's where I'm staying. Ultimately, I'd probably be bored to death, but that's the dream.
Well, it'll be fun for a few to visit there. I like that. And the final question here for you, John, if you had 10 seconds with yourself 10 years ago, what would you say?
I would have said that you can do anything that you set your mind to, and it goes back to something we said earlier, is that don't let people tell you can't do it. And I wish I had the smarts that I have now 10 years ago, because I would have done even more amazing things. I would have been more motivated.
Yeah. Well, you've certainly done a lot of good here. I love the Levan Center. Very excited to see what you guys come up with next, especially this hollow cube wildness that transports me anywhere. John, thanks so much for joining the show, brother.
Hey, I thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Wow, is all I can say. What a great episode. I love John, love the Levan Center, cannot wait to go back. And I would encourage you, by the way, if you haven't recently, start networking on your own. This month in the Mastermind program, we're really focused on networking with convention centers, event coordinators, universities, and just all sorts of cool things. That's part of the Mastermind program. I'll put a link below if you're interested in a Mastermind program for podcasters. That's really what I do, baby. I help you grow a podcast and build a podcast that builds your business, that drives sales. Woo! It is not that hard. And anyway, we can get on a call and I can help you out. So listen, it's up to you to go out and take the action. We've given you the tools. Now it's your turn to take the action. So go out, take action. We'll catch you here next time on the After Hours Entrepreneur. Peace.